16, 17. I hated like the holidays, absolutely hated them, and mainly because that was a time when I lived with my grandparents, and my grandparents' house, obviously through tradition, was the house that like everybody came to. So that meant that I like had to give up my room around this time of year. Everybody got to play with my toys, and my personal space was violated, which is how I looked at it, because my grandparents had 10 kids, a whole bunch of grandkids, everybody over. Usually the kids are playing in my shit. Like, I ain't really liking it. And nobody ever really set boundaries for me and my space and my stuff, like there were at like my aunts and uncle's house with their like kids and their kids' space and their kids' toys and stuff like that. So I really just hated the holidays, and like it was a time where I didn't really get gifts. My grandparents didn't really give me gifts, not because they couldn't or they didn't want to. They just like didn't know what was popular, what was like what they could or should give me. So a lot of times they would just like give me, you know, a couple dollars here or there. A lot of times my aunt would like get me something from them, and I would have like one thing under the tree. But like, yeah, and my mom would like give me stuff too, but it still just wasn't like the experience that like I watched everybody else around me have. So then I started to think about, okay, like high school, like junior year to about 25 was a time where like I drove, so like I could start moving around on my own, and I did that. And then there was a time where like I was drinking and able to like suppress a lot of the now internal issues that I had with the holiday season. I was able to suppress them and have fun during that time. Also, once I reached my early 20s, like started having sex. So like then I was like, shit, I could smoke, I could drink, I could fuck, I could like do whatever I wanted. So like especially around this time, y'all, when I say I was toxic as fuck around this time, like if you know, you know, if you've been around, you know, the jingle jams, you know what went down, how it went down. But you know, shit, that was just toxic for a lot of people, honestly. But yeah, for me specifically, like it was a time of year where like just a lot of toxic shit happened, and it was glorified. It was like a running like thing. And so after 25, I moved away from home, so I was no longer in a comfortable space to be as toxic, because I wasn't as comfortable in Florida, because I didn't really know people and I can't just be riding around the city and moving how I moved in Ohio and Florida. I remember like being away from home for like my first Christmas, and like that first Christmas I wanted to be toxic, but like there was like no jingle jam for Christmas. So like there were bars open, but it just didn't hit the same. And if you're from Youngstown, you go and been to Jingle Jams, you know what I'm talking about. And I remember being like, just wanting to do something toxic, like wanting to drink and drive, and wanting to like find somebody to fuck, and wanting to like just be toxic. And like it just didn't happen. Like the end of the night ended like, and it was lame in my in like that form of thinking. And then like I met like some of my family from the fruit stand, and I started to like spend holidays with them, and just started to create new traditions and kind of break that cycle of toxicity for myself. And I remember being so uncomfortable. Like I knew these people, I love these people love me, but I just remember being so uncomfortable because it wasn't what I was used to. And this was also around the time where I started to go into therapy, and I can remember my therapist telling me like, you know, it's time for you to create new traditions around like the holidays. And that started to happen when I was in Tampa, because it was like too expensive to fly home, honestly. And then there were like sometimes where I was just like, yeah, I'm actually like towards the end of my stay in Tampa, I didn't want to go home. And then I remember going home when I moved back to Ohio in 2020. And so let me back up a little bit. In Tampa, I was able to create new traditions, and I did things like kayaking, and like I spent time with like my like creative family there, and like they just did different things. They had different traditions, like and so I got to like build a immunity to safe at that time of year, safe during this time of year. And that's like, even though it was uncomfortable, that's probably when like my transition started to shift. And then I remember coming home the first year I was back in Ohio. I didn't spend Thanksgiving with my family because I had to work in Columbus and all my family was in Youngstown. And then Christmas, I planned to spend Christmas. That would have been my first Christmas in over like 3 years. And I had to work the day before. So I said, okay, I'm gonna get up and drive from Columbus to Youngstown on Christmas morning, and you know, spend Christmas with my family. And it snowed so bad that night. I couldn't even make it to Youngstown. So I spent that Christmas, the first Christmas back in Ohio, alone. And then I think it was maybe like 2-3 days later, and the next day for sure I couldn't go because it was still, the snow was really bad. Maybe the next day after that I did end up making my way down there. So that Christmas was really a Christmas where I had to sit and just like be still and like couldn't be toxic, right? Like I had to just be still. And I had already kind of gotten to the groove of that from the previous 2 to 3 other Christmases. So I was like, oh, it's okay. But it did suck because I had no people, like not even like my Tampa family. Like I had nobody. So it was just me, almost kind of like clean slate. And then I moved to Texas and spent Christmas in Texas last year. And that was just like a whole different vibe. I spent it with my boyfriend at the time, his family, which was also uncomfortable because I was just like meeting all of them. And now we're to that season again. And like today for Thanksgiving, I was like really excited for Thanksgiving. One, because I was meeting up with like people that I actually like rock with and I feel like I could be myself with and I feel safe with. So that was like real cool. Making the decision to do certain things on my time and how I wanted them done, like made me feel really good, not in like a control sense, but in a like I control me. Like I don't have to go to any spaces where I don't feel safe. I don't have to go to any spaces where I don't feel like I can authentically be myself. I don't have to go to any spaces that make me feel like I want to be toxic, like that trigger that for me. I can be in whatever space I want to be in, and when I don't want to be there, leave. So like that was really cool. And then now as Christmas approaches, the realization was like, man, my brain has really evolved, and I have actually started the shift in the creation of new traditions. Like I don't have to be, and genuinely don't want to be like the toxic in the streets, drinking, drunk, just fucking anything, anybody. Like don't get me wrong, I would love to like kick it with my friends. I would love to have a little buzz and just like have a good time. But like there is a level to it, and I like where I'm at with it. So that's just like dope for me to think about, like how I, thought about the season and how it is with work starting to change for the better in my life, and I love that for me. I absolutely love that for me.